And over time, people begin to condition their heart race like that all the time. You keep creating that kind of incoherence in the heart where it's no longer beating in a rhythmic fashion. The disintegration of the interference of those individual frequencies diminishes energy in the heart. And now we stop trusting ourselves. We stop trusting in our future. And the heart is the creative center. The heart represents the union of polarity, the union of duality, the union of opposites. This is where our divinity begins. If you can teach a person how to open their focus and begin to become nobody, no one, no thing, no where, and no time, and begin to open up into that blackness, that quantum field where there's nothing physical, and out of all the things they can put their attention on, instead of putting it on their cell phone or their Facebook or their coworkers or their boss or their ex or the problems in their lives, they're taking all of their attention and placing it on their heart. And where you place your attention is where you place your energy. And in a sense, you are putting attention and giving your heart life, the very life force it needs to begin to bloom like a flower. So as you rest your attention in your heart and you're able to keep your attention there, the next step is to slow your breathing down. And then you breathe in and out of your heart. And what you're doing is you're working with your body so that it feels safe enough to relax into the present moment and switch from the sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic nervous system. And of course, if a person is aroused constantly, it's going to take some practice to begin to do this. And as you begin to breathe in and out of your heart, slower and deeper and more relaxed, as your breathing slows down, your brainwaves slow down, and now the person now is starting to slip right into the autonomic nervous system and into the operating system. Now, let's trade the emotions of guilt, of shame, of unworthiness, of pain, of suffering, of anger, of fear, of hostility, of judgment, of envy, for heart-centered, elevated emotion. And as you breathe, give yourself permission to begin to feel gratitude, appreciation, begin to feel thankfulness, a love for life, a joy for existence. But doing that independent of any condition in your external environment. In other words, so many people are conditioned into believing they need a reason for gratitude. They need a reason for joy. They need a reason to feel love. They need something outside of them to create that emotion inside of them. And here we're doing the exact opposite. We're beginning to open our hearts and begin to put energy in there. And as we begin to breathe and feel these elevated emotions, all of a sudden the heart starts to become more coherent. And like dropping pebble in very still water, pebble after pebble after pebble in a very rhythmic fashion, all of a sudden the heart begins to produce an ambient magnetic field that can be up to 3 meters wide. And now, like beating a great drum, frequency that's being created from the heart, that frequency can carry information. And now the person, once energy moves into their heart, they're in the perfect state to create it. In other words, once this creative center opens up, and once it begins to become more coherent, not only are you producing that magnetic field that's beginning to spread out from your body, you're becoming more energy and less matter, more wave and less particle. You'll begin to feel like you're connected to something greater. And when your heart is open, you're no longer experiencing lack, polarity, separation, or duality. You feel connected. Your body begins to believe when you train your heart that your future is actually happening in the present moment because you're experiencing the emotion of your future before it happens. You can place the thought of your new life, your new job, your new relationship, your healing, the new opportunity in your life. That energy can carry the thought of your future. The energy of suffering, the energy of guilt cannot carry the thought of your healing. It cannot carry the thought of your abundance. That frequency of suffering carries a different set of thoughts. And now once the heart is open, it immediately begins to influence the brain. As the heart becomes more coherent and there's more energy in the heart, it automatically begins to amplify energy into the brain. And now we have more energy in the brain, and when that occurs, we start thinking with a different level of awareness, a different set of thoughts, a different consciousness that's equal to those emotional states. In other words, the moment you feel unlimited, you're going to think unlimited thoughts. The moment you feel worthy, you are going to think different thoughts. And those thoughts are going to begin to make more chemicals for you to feel more heart coherence. And when you feel that more heart coherence, your brain's going to check in with your body and it's going to generate more corresponding thoughts. And in time, you'll begin to change your state of being. When people can sustain heart coherence just for a short amount of time, there's a resetting that takes place in the baseline of trauma. When people have traumatic events in their life that are shocking, that are related to betrayal or loss, we begin to become branded emotionally, and that trauma stays right in the survival center of the brain called the amygdala. But as we begin to reset our inner state and we begin to self-regulate, when the heart begins to open up and energy moves to the brain, there are fibers that run right up to the amygdala that begin to reset the baseline of trauma. In a matter of moments, the person starts to feel more like themselves. Now take a look at what heart coherence and incoherence looks like. If you look at the top graph, this is a person who's feeling frustration, anxiety, impatience, fear, and you can see that the heart is completely out of rhythm. Take a look at the second graph, when the person is feeling an elevated emotion like gratitude or appreciation or kindness or care. Look at the amount of coherence or rhythm or order that's taking place in the heart. Now, elevated emotions like gratitude, love, joy, inspiration, peace, wholeness, trust, knowingness, patience, empowerment are selfless emotions that tend to open the heart. The survival emotions that we've been talking about over the last several episodes are related to those emotions of guilt and shame and unworthiness and anger and fear. They have nothing to do with heart-centered emotions. So then what if then the heart begins to become more coherent and it begins to send energy up to the brain through these fibers called afferent fibers? The vagus nerve, the primary nerve that's dominant in the parasympathetic nervous system, begins to reset the baseline of the brain, and when the heart becomes coherent, the brain becomes coherent. And when the brain starts to become coherent, the heart becomes coherent. How do we know that? Because when we look at a brain scan and we see a person beginning to become more orderly in their brain, we see the front of the brain beginning to resonate with the back of the brain. We see different communities of neurological networks beginning to form larger communities, and they begin to oscillate and resonate. And all of a sudden you see the left side of the brain talking to the right side of the brain. And if the person is connecting to that unified field, the signature of order and unity is beginning to become entrained in the nervous system. When this occurs, when you see the union of opposites, the union of polarity, the union of duality, all of a sudden when those two hemispheres come together, and there's that psychic union, in that moment when the person feels whole, the heart begins to function more coherently. So then a coherent brain begins to produce a coherent heart. And a coherent heart amplifies energy and creates a coherent brain. So take a look at this person right here. Each one of these individual squares, these individual blocks, represent 5 minutes. And this is a person in a meditation, and we're asking that person to begin to elevate their emotional state. And for a little over 50 minutes, you can see from this graph that they're sustaining an extended period of time of heart coherence. Now, take a look at this last period of heart coherence. Now, this is the interesting thing. This person was not in a meditation when she was experiencing this level of heart coherence. And I asked her, what were you doing? She said, I was finishing my day, I was unpacking, it was 8 o'clock at night, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I felt this incredible feeling of love take over me. She said it was so intense, it was so powerful, that she had to lay on her back in bed and just surrender to the feeling. And for over an hour, she's relaxing into love. And 1,400 to 1,300 different chemicals are released in this state that begin to restore and repair the body. Now, we all know what a panic attack is. When a person keeps selecting the worst case scenario in their mind, and they begin to become so preoccupied with that probable outcome that they start to feel the emotions before it happens, they're combining an image or a thought with a feeling and an emotion. And over time, they're conditioning the body to become the mind of fear. And if they do that enough times, the body is going to have a panic attack. Try as they may to control it with their conscious mind, they can't because they programmed it subconsciously. Now take a look at this. 3 people sustaining heart coherence for 45 minutes. These people are developing the skill of self-regulation. And I want them to be able to do it with their eyes open as well as their eyes closed. They should be able to do it in their life. And they should be able to notice when they lose that feeling from their heart. And they should be able to excuse themselves from their day or from certain conditions and begin to recalibrate and begin to open their heart again. And in time then, they're going to become less reactionary to everyone and everything in their lives. And if they're not reacting, then they're no longer living in stress, and now the body can begin to regenerate and repair itself because it's now no longer living in emergency mode. Now, take a look at these people. This is a person with really weak heart, very little variability. And take a look, for a little over 15 minutes, this person is able to sustain heart coherence. For another 8 minutes or so, they're able to do it again. And to me, this is the beginning of a person changing their biology. Another person, very weak heart, for about 6 minutes, they're able to create heart coherence, and again, for about 7 or 8 minutes, they're able to do it again. And if they keep practicing this, they're going to change their biology and begin to make it a skill. Now, what is the significance of creating brain and heart coherence? Think about it. When you create heart coherence, you're emitting a measurable magnetic field. When you're creating brain coherence, you can put a thought or intent on that frequency. And when you do it properly now, you are broadcasting a very coherent signature of electromagnetism all around you. Once you create a coherent signature in the brain and heart, now like a laser, you can begin to decode information in the field. And being able to control those frequencies, or your awareness in connecting to those frequencies, now it's like having a Wi-Fi signal where you can connect to energy and information. When the brain is incoherent, when the heart is incoherent, we experience separation and we have a poor signal, so we can't connect to the field to create from. And as the person begins to trade those survival emotions like anger and fear or pain for elevated emotions like gratitude, joy, and love, and they overcome the emotions that keep them bound to their past, present reality, and there's no longer a vibrational match between anyone or anything in their life, all of a sudden, as they overcome the emotions, they're going to take their attention off the person or problem. And now they're going to begin to weaken the energetic bonds with their past, present reality. And in a sense, if they're no longer feeling those emotions, and they're no longer thinking about that person or problem, they are taking their power back. And they begin to build their own electromagnetic field. And now they have energy to heal. Now they have energy to create a new future with. And now they're creating no longer from lack or separation, they're creating from wholeness or oneness. In other words, when they create, they feel like it's already happening. And so then when we get up from our meditations in this creative state, as long as we're feeling the emotions of our future in our heart, we're no longer looking for when it's going to happen or why it's going to happen, because you feel like it's already happened. And you are connected to the energy of your future. And when we lose the energy of our future and we disconnect from it, now we're back to the energy of our past. And don't expect anything to change in your life. So it's not enough to just do this in your meditation. we have to sustain this modified state of mind and body our entire day. So that when there's a vibrational match between your energy and some future potential that already exists in the quantum field, and you're creating from the field instead of from matter, now we no longer have to go anywhere to get it. We will begin to collapse time and space and draw the experience to us. And now we'll begin to believe that we're more of the creators of our lives instead of the victim of our lives. Now that I've shown you how to create heart and brain coherence, it's my wish that you'll use this information to synchronize your mind as well as your heart to better manage your energy.